Good evening all, and welcome to this November 27th, 2023 Committee of the Whole meeting for Village of Lake Bluff Village Board of Trustees.
Trustee Cole?
Here.
Trustee Fisher?
Here.
Trustee Freed?
Here.
Trustee Hatch?
Here.
Trustee Rappin?
Here.
Trustee Ryder?
Here.
Thank you. Next on our agenda are non-agenda items and visitors for public comments. The Committee of the Whole allocates 15 minutes during this item for those individuals who would like the opportunity to address the Committee of the Whole on any matter not listed on this agenda. Each person addressing the Committee of the Whole is asked to limit their comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. I do not see anybody in the room willing to make a comment. Do we have people online willing to speak?
No, sir.
Thank you. And moving on to the next item, that is our general business. Do we have any requests for you to modify the order today? Not necessarily, only one item. Moving on. Next item is the consideration of the minutes from the August 28th, 2023 Committee of the Whole meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Are there any changes to these minutes? I do not see changes. Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
It's just a voice.
It's a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is a discussion regarding the Lake Bluff Yacht Club license agreement request. And again, I'd like to state that I was part of Lake Bluff Yacht Club about 2 years ago, but I stepped away from that board given my current position, that I did not participate in these conversations, but I did make sure that these conversations got there.
Yeah, since our time is tight, tonight in your packet is a memo from me updating everybody on what happened at the last committee of the whole meeting, the last conversation at the board level regarding the yacht club's request for a license. And tonight, Gretchen Seymour and the rest of the folks from the yacht club are here to make a presentation and update the board about their evaluation of all the preferred alternative footprint locations, and they want to make sure that the board is clear that they exhausted all of their possible scenarios, and that they're thoroughly evaluated in terms of where they want to have the compound replaced back down at the beach. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. This is Matt Glover, our Vice Commodore, and we are TikTok, so we are going to just cruise through. Just a note on timing. Matt and I are hoping to be 5 minutes and then 10 minutes, maybe a little less for Scott. So here we go. Who are we? Why are we here? Why does it matter? Why do we matter? And I want to start with that end. Why does any of this matter at all? And I think the ability for folks in Lake Bluff to have access to be on the lake, not just look at it, is something unique to our community and adds to the Lake Bluff experience. And for 60 years, over 60 years, volunteers of this organization, the Lake Bluff Yacht Club, have managed that. They've managed all of the logistics of making that happen for the community. Starting with our name. Our name says Yacht Club, but there are no yachts in sight. There are no yachts in sight. We've been a wooden structure compound and a porta-john for 60 years, and it's worked, but we have higher hopes. Our roots are in sailing, but we've expanded to welcome paddlers of all kinds, stand-up paddlers, kayaks. Within the past 5 years, we actually did a reconfiguration of our compound down there to reallocate slots because there was such a demand for the stand-up paddleboard community. Our membership fees are nominal. I am almost positive that my Netflix membership is way more than my Lake Bluff Yacht Club membership, and that is such a value for what folks are getting. Take the next slide. True, thanks. Many of, oh, you're driving. Or not, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna go back one if you can. Yeah, many of our, I think many people in the community might only know us as those people who come in on those boats on Sunday afternoons at the beach, but we're really a lot more than that. It's a community within the community. We have a lot of social activities that have been going on for years and years. They're real traditions. We're happy to say that we were back in the Lake Bluff in 4th of July parade this year after a little hiatus, and we have a real focus on new activities for our younger families. These photos are from the lobster boil, probably one of our most treasured traditions, where we gather on the beach for lobster boil. And as we're looking at these pictures, there were questions raised our last time together about non-members or non-residents who are members of the yacht club, and we just wanted to address that a little bit and just clarify that for non-residents who are members of the yacht club, it's not a beach pass. We're really clear, and we worked with the park district to really make that clear that it's not a beach pass. Those folks are welcome to come to our events. They are welcome to go get their watercraft out if they have them, and that's the extent of it. But more importantly, that non-resident population within the yacht club, although it's a small number, they are mighty in the heavy lifting that they do to support all of these activities that we're talking about. They bring knowledge, expertise, that we just don't always find within the constructs of our village. And that's a great segue to Matt, because he's going to talk more about those community partnerships.
Yeah, so we also kind of do some other partnerships with our local community. So we partner with the park, you guys probably know this already, but we do partner with the park district providing, storing, and maintaining the 16 sunfish that they use for their youth sailing program. As someone who's coached junior sailing for many years, I can tell you there's a lot of maintenance that goes into that. To keep these boats not only functional, but most of all safe for the children to use on the water, our volunteer members donate their time, tools, and expertise to ensure this program has the equipment it needs for our youth to learn a lifelong skill. We store and share the cost of the maintenance of the motorized safety boats, and we also offer adult sailing classes. These classes are run by our member volunteers who are U.S. sailing certified instructors to ensure a high level of attention and safety. If you go to the next slide. There's some pictures of the work that some of these members do to keep these boats safe and available to our members, but also the youth program. Next slide. So I've only lived here for 2 years, 2.5 years, and in that time, this village has been full of surprises. Probably the biggest of that has been the sailing fleet. It's one of the most competitive sunfish fleets in the country. Not only compete around the globe, but have also hosted many prestigious events right here in town, bringing in visitors and commerce while sharing our Lake Bluff hospitality. I've been racing since I was 9. I've traveled to a myriad of different venues, and I've never seen another club like this. It's purely run by its members' time and dedication to provide something very simple and great. I constantly rave about this community and all it has to offer. Pound for pound, this village has so many opportunities. And as my children join T-ball, attend Bluffania, and various other sports programs, I see that these are only possible because we have a wealth of families who have a passion to bring those experiences to the community. I see all the hard work and time they donate, and that's what makes this club one of a kind, why it's here in the club.
just love this picture. And it was taken by Tom Dickelman from church, like from, while church was going on, this was last year at the Women's North Americans. And that kind of sums it up, right? Where else can you sail and pray and be in the same picture? And I just, hope we remember as we're looking ahead that we only want to continue what we've been doing and grow it more, and that's what we're asking for. So I'm going to segue to Scott because he's going to show us what that might look like.
And so at previous meeting, there was a question about whether or not, because the Water Reclamation District was moving their generator back, then could the sightline of the lake be improved more if we also shifted our footprint back to match the front of the pumping station? And then as sort of compensation for that loss of square footage there, then to extend southward. So this is really my attempt to sort of address those two concerns. By the way, I'm Scott Shapey. I've been in the club since 2005. Lost track, and I've been involved at all levels for a long time, and more recently I was foolish enough to raise my hand and offer to help as we figured out what the new facility was going to look like. So first, I just want to say, I really want to make, there are two major points here. The first is that because of all of the plans of the water district and where the footprint will be, there really isn't a significant impact on the sight lines to the lake. And I'll have some details on that. But then the second point is, if we did have to compress our compound, shift it away from the lake, demonstrating how that really does severely disproportionately impact the number of sunfish and kayaks and paddleboards that we could shore. So to start off with, here's a view of our beautiful lake, courtesy of Google Maps. And of course we have, let's see, the laser is a little tired there, the pumping station there, and our compound there. There's the outline of the former compound. And as I discussed in the plans from the water district, they're going to shift that generator back. And so the question was, could we line up with that face? But the first thing to note is that, in fact, the water district's plans include a bunch of landscaping there that will extend out about 10 feet or more. So really the view doesn't start from immediately at the face of the pumping station, it's 10 feet further out. And our proposed footprint is there, so quite similar to the old one. And so then as you come down the hill and you reach the bottom, it's a little bit cut off there in this view, there at the very top you can see, so that's sort of the first opportunity you would have to look southward. Of course, as you come down, you're seeing the entirety of the lake in front of you as you walk down the hill. But then if you did try to look exactly south, straight south along that proposed landscaping, you would encounter the edge of our proposed compound. But my main point is that you really only have to shift your gaze just a tiny bit, that it's only about 4-degree difference in looking due south versus looking slightly east of south. And in fact, what you're looking at isn't the lake. So here again, there's a view due south from that point. What you're seeing is actually the shoreline. And so what you're losing is a few degrees of shoreline there. And of course, we have the entire vista of the lake. And so we're just losing a tiny slice of that pie. And if one continues a little further out into the parking lot, of course, you can see all of those things. Here again is that first view, and we have a photograph from that location. We don't have one from back there, unfortunately. But from that location, here's what one sees. So again, you see plenty of the lake, all of the lake to the left, and the shoreline there.
If I might, I'm the one who had most of these concerns. I can tell you that the footprint makes sense to me. You've done the due diligence that I requested some months ago, and so the notion that you need to carve back so many spaces, which I think is your point number 2, after the sightlines, because one can disagree perhaps about the value of that actual land other than the sightlines, but putting that aside, I'm convinced, perhaps other people want to hear more about the sightlines, but because what I asked you to do, what you have done, is to assess the impact to your storage. And it was draconian, and I'm not concerned about the, continuing that discussion. Others may disagree, but because I was so vocal on this point, I thought I would just let you know in the interest of time.
Thank you.
But-
I'm happy to skip the rest of this.
Does that, others have questions?
I'll just echo gratitude because this is what we wanted to see and hear. I did want to follow up on a question that's not related to the footprint, but on the membership, because it was those two issues that we had questions about. And I of course, value as much bringing in and sharing the wealth of our amazing community. I mean, everybody who moves here says the same thing, like, what have I stumbled upon, and it's such a gift and a treasure, a pearl. I think our question really was about is if there's a waiting list of Lake Bluffers, of residents, is there any sort of preference that they receive over outside communities? Yeah.
Right, so thank you.
Yeah.
As it stands today, there is not. And that is because that's the way it has been for these 60 years. We did look back, interestingly, on the data, and it's been very consistent over time, meaning our non-residents who have slots, we call them slots, slips in the boathouse, has remained consistent over the past 5 years. It hovers just about 13, 14%. So I hear your question. I also say I think we will never be able to supply all the demand of people who want to be in the boathouse, right? So I guess also the question is, what's the problem we're trying to solve?
Yeah, so if I could interject, so the footprint is not an issue because you've done the due diligence I asked. I am remaining concerned about that issue, and so I just went to Highland Park to figure out how the North Shore district does it, and they separate the membership in the club. That's handled through the club, and then the slips are all handled through the park district. And inherent in that is a difference in expense. For the storage for park district residents, it's one cost, call it $500. For the non-park district residents, it's $850. And that makes sense. That's how we do our park district programs generally, right? It's park district land. In this case, it's village land. And we have people who are paying taxes for that land, albeit a small sliver of their taxes for that land. And your members who are paying taxes, they're in fact paying twice. They're paying for that land once in their taxes, and then they're paying again. So my question to you is, the other thing is that Highland Park also expressly gives a preference to residents, and that's available on their land, on their information. So my question to you is, why can't we do something more comparable? And isn't that more fair to your resident members, such that the cost of storage is borne fairly, and those members aren't subsidizing the non-residents in a way that having the park district rent the space, or us rent the space, we would accommodate. So two things: preference, which I think Highland Park gives by virtue of it being run through the park district, and then second, the cost, which I believe is roughly 80% more for non-residents. So I asked, I think, both of those questions. Perhaps the cost might take care of the demand somewhat. But your members who are residents are paying for that land once and twice, and your non-residents aren't.
I hear you. Thank you. I am going to just hold hold for a second, and I'm just curious if there's other viewpoints to be shared, or if this is collective of all the trustees.
I would like to reflect a slightly nuanced viewpoint, that is, we really have a few different types of people using our land here in Lake Bluff. That is, we have residents and sellers who are committed to the social life of the village, and that are sellers, and part of them, I cannot wait to be on the water and selling sunfish. And then we have a population of people living outside of Lake Bluff who are also extremely committed sellers, who are nationwide sellers, who are representing the name of Lake Bluff outside this village. So our mighty little village is basically being represented in other parts of the world. And so we need to cherish that, we need to support that. And then we have a third class of people who are just hosting their boats in the compound and don't really want to be social with us, and that's fine too. But the point is, we need to provide to Suzanne's point, we need to provide a preference to, if I live here and I pay taxes, and this is not cheap, how can I get involved in our sailing program, stand up paddleboard, kayaks, sunfish, whatever it is. And because so how can you craft a program that might be a little bit more sensitive to that? My question is.
And I will just say that nuance doesn't make much difference to me, whether or not they're involved or not involved. I appreciate maybe they could have and put it on their uniform or something, or perhaps on their hat. I mean, they're gold star members, right? But they're nonetheless not taxpayers. So, although I appreciate what you're saying, they may seem, maybe their rates on the membership is different because they contribute in some such way. But what I'm saying is they're still taking up square footage that is not available unless we give preference to our residents. So I don't know the gold star member distinction you're making, but I don't think it makes sense on the storage end. I think it makes sense on the membership end. I don't think it makes sense on the storage end.
I have a more fundamental question that maybe you guys have already addressed. I was in the last meeting. Have there been complaints from residents about the non-preference to you?
No. There are sometimes issues in just the general waiting. Like sometimes it takes time.
I don't know that the general public knows.
Understood. I just wasn't sure if this was.
It's not like, you know.
I have a question, just a point of clarification maybe. You said there's no waiting list right now for membership, but is there a waiting list right now for storage?
Yes,
Okay.
there is a waiting list for storage.
Okay.
Frankly, we're all on a waiting list because there is no storage, right? I mean,
Okay.
but yes, there is an active wait list that was established before the councils.
Would preferential treatment, I guess, be more valuable in terms of storage than membership? Is that where we feel the distinction more?
I don't think membership matters. Looking at the Highland Park Mart, everyone is invited to participate. The only reason I was addressing the membership was to somewhat facetiously say that's where the distinction that Regis is drawing that seems to make sense. Space is space, no matter whether somebody's a great member or an average member. Space is space, and taxes are taxes. And the taxpayers of the village are paying for that sliver of land. So, and I don't think people know. I mean, first of all, they look at the yacht club and they think, oh, that's not me. I mean, when they get to know it, they know it's maybe a little tongue-in-cheek, I don't know. But they don't say, that's me, maybe I should check that out necessarily. And when they do, nobody says, oh wait, you're behind 20% of or 14% or whatever the percentage of people who have been here before you, too bad, you have to wait, even though they don't live here. So that's not advertised anywhere, so I don't know how that we complain, but I do know that there have been complaints about waiting. And it's gotten better lately because of some changes I think that happened in the last few years, but I've been here long enough to know that there was a lot of disgruntlement about the waiting list several years ago. And if people knew that they were behind non-residents, I think that disgruntlement would have been directed at us, not just.
I was just trying to figure out if the distinction was the membership or specifically the space, which it sounds like it's space, the waiting list.
I'm
I'm gonna wait, because I think you want to get everybody's opinion, the basic pulse, but go Yacht Club, awesome. Sightlines are great. I think on the membership, that was the one thing that I think I agree with Susan and Tara and the rest of the board. I think you said 13%, and it sounds like historically it's been 87% lake lovers. And we're only talking about storage here because that's the valuable piece, as many people can come to membership. And it really makes sense to me that you have aficionados that are part of and bring up the stature of the club that come from other places. So there's value in it. There's no doubt. We don't want to do away with that. But if I was a Lake Bluff, taxpayer, and I was on the wait list, and I knew somebody else was coming on, it could be frustrating to me. They may not know, but it could be frustrating. So I think establishing, whether it's 87 or 90%, something, so that when those choices are made on who's next on the wait list, there is some sort of a standard for Lake Bluff. And to me, it feels like 90% or so would be right, and just publish that number and stick to it.
Rich, can you please approach the lectern and state your name and your address, please?
Hi, I'm Rich Chapman. I've been a member of the Yacht Club since 1991, and seen and gone through a lot of different things. The issue here is, I agree with your idea. I'm from Libertyville, by the way. I think right now, on the waiting list, there might be one, maybe two non-residents on the list. So, and I don't know in my time that there have ever been more than maybe 4 or 5 non-residents on that list. So it's not a huge number. We're not talking about, people having to wait forever or getting bumped to 2 years down the road. It's a very, very small number. So as I'm listening to you having this discussion, I want you to understand that it's literally right now, I think maybe 1 or 2 people on that list. And when we build a new compound, we're gonna have more slots. So it's probably gonna be gone.
Thank you, Rich.
Okay?
Do we have any more comments from the board, because we're approaching, or we are at 7 p.m. and I want to make sure that everybody has a say in this matter. The board first. Okay.
I agree with Trustee Rapin's analysis.
Thank you. Do we have another comment in the room? Yes, please.
Yeah, hi, I'm Bill Herman. I've been a member of the Yacht Club since 2002, although I must say I'm mainly a paddler, not so much involved in the sailing events. But the point that Commissioner Ryder made, I'm not sure exactly how it works in Highland Park, but I would like to get more clarity to that, as well as let you all know about the clarity as to how the Yacht Club works. I don't know if everybody understands this, right? So I've got 2 slips, one for a kayak and one for a sunfish, and I have to pay membership dues in order to retain those slots. So I think what I heard was that Highland Park says if you want to be in this yacht club and come and have fun with us, that's an extra payment. But in the meantime, you could have a slot if all you're going to do is rent the slot. So I've been asking in the past for sort of a non-social yacht club membership that's less money, because frankly the yacht club spends a lot of money on things that I don't attend and I don't take advantage of, and to me it's not worth it. And so I'm like, I'll pay for the slot. And so if this is truly about a real estate play here, I think there should be a differentiation made between renting a slot from the village, right? Maybe through the yacht club, but it's from the village, as opposed to also having to pay up to attend parties that I'm not going to attend. So,
thank you, Bill. So I probably will represent the intent of the conclusion of the board that we're okay with the license agreement as it stands right now, with explanation from Scott, Matt, and Gretchen. We have further questions about membership and how membership is established. And so it's very much of an internal mechanics to the yacht club. And so my ask and our ask would be, we would really like a preferential scale to membership and storage.
To storage.
amount for membership.
To storage, yes.
Storage is the real estate we're talking about.
And so does that reflect this conversation? These 2 points?
It does, I just want to point out one other thing. The rental price that they're getting in this agreement is quite low, right? So in order to keep the cost down for their resident members and offset the $3,000 a year, that's a new payment, the way that we're giving a preferential deal no one else could get. So our taxpayers ought to have the benefit.
And the only clarification I'd like to make, compared to Highland Park, is we, the yacht club, maintain, pay, manage, do all the logistics, 100%.
Which I don't think we want to do.
Okay.
Man,
So
one reason why you have such a preferential rental payment, right, is because we don't take on any of that. Nonetheless, our taxpayers should not have an equal burden in cost. They already pay their taxes. And you gotta get that $3,000 out somewhere, so why not out of the non-taxpayers? That's my 2 cents. I don't write bylaws, but my vote is based on my understanding that you're going to seriously look at preferential treatment for our taxpayers as a quid pro quo for us giving you this license agreement, which is under market by any account, and that's what I expect as of a partner.
So we have a,
Yeah, I have more.
1 minute, please. Okay, yes, go ahead, and then we'll conclude this session.
As you know, I've been Commodore for this club for 6 of the last 8 years. I'm no longer Commodore, so I'm here as a member, a very concerned member. I have been a member of the Winnetka Yacht Club. I've been a member of the Cedar Point Yacht Club in Westport, Connecticut. I've been a member of the Houston Yacht Club. I have been a member here. I have, as a regional race officer for U.S. Sailing, I go around the country and go to other yacht clubs. And I can tell you, I have never seen a tiering of membership dues based on geography. Yacht clubs draw from all over. This would be unprecedented, particularly given that we build the compound, we maintain the compound, and we're now paying you rent. So for you to dictate that, I think is very difficult. It's going to be very difficult for our non-members, who are the majority of people that maintain our sailboats, which is beneficial for the youth program, which, by the way, generates $30,000 a year for the Park District. So if you want to sort of exclude all of these people who are giving their time, make it more difficult for them to be part of the yacht club, you are jeopardizing a lot more than just putting a few more people off the wait list. Thank you.
To be abundantly clear, I'm not talking about membership fees.
Let's start this conversation.
Okay,
Okay?
Let's start.
thank you.
No, let's conclude on that. So basically what we have is, we basically have an agreement from a license agreement request. I think we're set for the footprint, we're okay with that. What we have is a challenge for LBCOW to address membership right here. So we can do 2 things going forward, okay? We can ask LBCOW to come back to this meeting for a workshop. We can ask you guys to come back here and to work this out. Or we can, as a board, we can say, okay, are we okay with that? And then we trust, can we ask LBCOW to work this out internally to give preferential treatment to people of Lakewood? And I will ask the board to give you an opinion on that.
I know you want to move on, but I think a clarification needs to be made, which is, though I'm grateful, Commodore, for you coming up and speaking, the board comments have not been talking about a tiered membership. It's been about making sure the spaces that if there are Lake Bluff residents, that they would receive preferential access access to the space before a non-resident would. So it's not about tiered, it's about all of the folks who are contributing from outside of the community right now, they already have their spaces. We're not taking anything away from them, and we're so grateful for what they do. I don't think anyone on the board is anti-yacht club. We all love the yacht club. I mean, my kids went through many people on this board's children have gone through the yacht club. Trustee Ryder's son is one of them. Okay? So I feel like it's important that we clarify that and make sure these conversations remain respectful and not volatile. It's, again, our job is to make sure the right questions are asked and the due diligence is done because we manage the land. And that's what we do here. It's a transparent process where questions are asked so that the community members know that we're not just phoning it in. So we're so grateful that you came in and that you did answer the questions we had. I don't know what Trustee Ryder or how she might want to vote. I think I would, and of course nobody here on this board can or is dictating how you structure your bylaws. It's just merely what we are asking and hoping to hear responses from you all. So I'll add that.
I think it's basically, do you guys want to challenge the yacht club to come back after they think about the concerns and comments provided tonight with regard to membership and making sure that there is preferential treatment for Lake Bluff's taxpayers for storage? Or do you want them to, or would the board rather go ahead and see the license agreement perhaps at its December 11th meeting, or wait till it's completely done?
I mean, I'm comfortable approving everything pending a recommendation from the yacht club on membership preference.
And just
Maybe we could come up with something and then just submit it to you guys instead of having to do
Yeah.
that.
For sure.
Are we all okay with that?
yes.
And it's also something else that, like, for us to pass something like this, the bylaws, it has to go through the entire membership and they all have to vote and agree. So it's something that we can workshop and come up and hopefully approve, and then we have to go through our entire membership as well, but we're happy to look into it.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Bill, thank you. And that would conclude our committee of the whole meeting. We'd have to have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Aye.
Nice to see you. Yes, walking. Yeah, we'll try.
It was.
Yes, let's do that, but anyways, I need 5 minutes. It will be 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's recover from that. Getting back together at 7:60, 7:50, 7:60.
5 minutes?
Right.